Hello, and welcome to Dolphin's Dive, the weekly strategically minded Handelabra stream hosted by Logic Dolphin. Handelabra believes in civil rights for everyone and in being as inclusive as possible, so any comments or activity actively working against those goals are not welcome and will not be tolerated. And with that, let's begin. We have to avenge ourselves from last week, as we lost. Spoilers. We have to play Elemental Invocation again, but this time with more enthusiasm. But what do we have this week? Well, we are playing Brandenburg Prussia 3, and we have Devouring Teeth lurk underfoot, as well as Lightning's Swift Strike. Is this going to be easier or harder than last week? Probably easier, honestly, just looking at this, but we'll see. I can lose any game. Alright, so first, Devouring Teeth lurk underfoot. Setup. Put one presence on your starting board in land number 5. Special rules, territorial aggression, your damage dealing powers do +1 damage. Yay! Growth options, reclaim cards, add a presence at range 0. Gain a power card, add a presence at range 1. Add a presence at range 2, gain 3 energy. Always adding a presence, but only one of these options gets us power cards. We get up to 7 energy per turn, 4 card plays per turn, starting at 2 energy and 1 card play respectively. And we get 2 fire, 2 animals, and 1 earth on the presence tracks, and the innate power death approaches from beneath the surface. At 1 fire, 1 animal, if you don't have presence in target land, gather 1 of your presence. At 2 fire, 1 earth, 2 animal, 1 damage. At 3 fire, 1 earth, 3 animal, 2 damage. And at 4 fire, 2 earth, 5 animal, 2 fear, 4 damage. And yeah, those are powers. We also have Lightning Swift Strike, not Aspect. I don't know if Aspects get shuffled in when we do it, but whatever. Setup. Put 2 presents on your starting board in the highest numbered sands. Special rules, Swiftness of Lightning. For every air you have, you may use 1 slow power as if it were fast. Growth options are reclaim cards, gain a power card, gain 1 energy. Add a presence at range 2, add a presence at range 0. Add a presence at range 1 to gain 3 energy. We can get up to 5 energy per turn, 6 card plays per turn, starting at 1 energy and 2 card plays. Nope. Elements on the presence tracks. Innate power, Thundering Destruction. At 3 fire, 2 air, destroy 1 town. 4 fire, 3 air, you may instead destroy 1 city. 5 fire, 4 air, 1 water, also destroy 1 town or city. At 5 fire, 5 air, 2 water, also destroy 1 town or city. Very destructive. We have damage dealing and we have destruction. Kingdom of Brandenburg Prussia. No additional loss condition. Escalation is land rush. On each board with buildings, add a town to a land without buildings. To a land without towns. And we have fast start. During setup on each board, add a town to land number 3. Surge of colonists. When making the invader deck, put 1 of the stage 3 cards between stage 1 and stage 2. And efficient. When making the invader deck, remove an additional stage 1 card. So the new deck order is 1-1, 3, 2-2-2-2, 3-3-3-3. Fear card distribution is 3 at tier level 1, 4 at tier level 2, and 3 at tier level 3. And then we have Elemental Invocation. We played this last week, but we lost, so I'm not going to read through all of the text. But we do have a town at land number 6. We add a fear card to tier level 1, and we accelerate the invader deck. So what that ultimately means is that this is now 4-4-3 fear cards, and the deck order is now 1-3-2-2-2-2-3-3-3-3. Oh boy, it's fast. We can add element markers. The cost is 1 energy plus 1 energy per adjacent corner that already has an element marker. Can only place element markers which we have on a power card in hand, player discard. And they boost land targeting powers, so the power gains all elements on the target land's corners. Each element marker on the board counts as 2 energy towards choice events aided by that element, but they do not help spirit targeting powers or special rules that check how many elements you have. So if I decide to put air on every single corner on the island, it's not going to make all of Lightning's powers fast, as that's still dependent on air that Lightning has, as it's not a land targeting power. But it would affect Thundering Destruction, as that is a land targeting power. It does not affect Lightning's Boon, as that is a spirit targeting power. But it would affect Death approaches from beneath the surface, as that is a land targeting power. So, both of us have fire. Both of us like fire. So certainly fire is going to be a very good element to put down. Animal is going to be the secondary element, maybe technically primary element for devouring teeth, since we need that the most of all of these. Air is kind of the primary element on lightning, but again, we need air on our power cards in order to play power cards fast. Water is very tangential there. Earth is very tangential here. But in any case, seems like fire is going to be the primary focus. And this difficulty is 1, so technically, yeah, this is 6 plus 1 is 7. Yeah, okay, cool. Difficulty 7, let's go. Let's see if we can avenge ourselves from last week. Town, 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 town. Discard the mountain, and then explore sands. And let's not get too comfortable, as the next Explorer card is already stage 3. Oh no. Oh no. Mamma mia. Okay. These are the builds. So we have city and city that are building. We have town and town that are building. Yep. So we can prevent one of the cities by destroying a town fast, and usually with lightning, the approach would be to do 2 presence on turn 1 to get to 2 energy per turn, and then next growth we would do presence and energy to get to 3 card plays. That gives us better energy sustain. Play 3 cards next turn to get to the top level innate, or first level innate, not top, but first. That allows us to destroy a town, and that way we can probably deal with E8 the most effectively. What about Devouring Teeth, though? Obviously, we can just defend 9. Plus 3 damage with one of its damage-dealing powers is another cool option. Want to combo that with Raging Storm, which we can't play this turn. Bear in mind, though, that if I do use that on Raging Storm, it's 1 damage to each invader, and then an additional 3 damage. It's not 4 damage to each invader. But that would clear out E7. So we don't necessarily need to destroy the town in here. We can just do Raging Storm and wipe it out. Which is interesting. Obviously, your innate deals damage, but not enough to kill a city until we get higher up. And Ferocious Rampage only deals damage to explorers and towns. But would be pretty good for dealing with, like, F1. As that would just destroy everything in F1. The defend card pushes Dahan, so we can't really use it to outright skip a Ravage. I mean, we can always defend in a land that has no Dahan. We can't use it for the Dahan to counterattack. That's what I mean. Of course, it would skip the Ravage. Defend 9 is a lot, but pushing Dahan is kind of sad. Herd towards the Lurking Maw would be pretty good for preventing a build in the next turn, since there are going to be 8 builds. So we probably want to get to 2 card plays. Oh, and let's not forget we also place elements down. That might actually change my calculus on this. Remember what I said how I normally do this growth? Well, that's not really going to work too well when I'm placing element markers down. And element markers would actually perhaps enable me to destroy a city with Thundering Destruction as well, but... So I'm kind of inclined to just click plus energy on both spirits then. It does mean I'm not getting the 2 energy per turn. It's going to overall be an energy loss on lightning, but I have 6 energy worth of cards here. If I place an element marker down, which is probably a good idea, just do it like every turn. Just to aid in elements in different lands. Yeesh. Energy seems a bit looser on Devouring Teeth since you start with 2, but a bit harder with Lightning. It's also possible that I don't even need to get to 3 card plays. I guess it depends on what power I want to play this turn. Destroy a town off of Shatter Homesteads would allow me to like destroy the E1 town very easily, but if I go with like Gift of Furious Might on Raging Storm to kill everything in E6, I could just use like Thundering Destruction or Shatter Homesteads in E1 next turn. So say like I do this. Just say that I do this. And let's say I just want better visibility on my own board, as this Sacred Site gives me range 1 Sacred Site visibility to every land on my board. I could put an element marker down and say that I decide I want to put a fire here. The next turn, I only need 2 card plays that give fire and air, which is all of my cards, in order to destroy a town in this land. Of course, I can't play Shatter Homesteads this turn, but I could use, like, Harbingers of the Lightning to push Tahan in a land, or Lightning Spoon to make one of these things fast. Actually, making Ferocious Rampage fast is interesting, as I could just stop the city build in F8. Interesting. Which of these cares about Sacred Sites? Any of these? None of these? All of these are range 0 powers, but... except this one's range 1. But nothing cares about Sacred Sites, really, so... So I decided to do this. Do I want 2 card plays? Would a fire do more? I think it would really do more. I could play this for sure to deal with F8. Play that to deal with an Explore, and then I could put a fire down and use that slow, and that would allow me to kill the town in F1, and then I don't need to defend 9 next turn. I could perhaps just gain a power card. So say I make this a fire. Then it says, oh yeah, you can do 1 damage with your innate, but that's situational. What if I... oh no, I did want to use Lightning Spoon in order to do things fast. Okay, so do that. I don't really want to... I want to save my cards here. So use your powers fast. Use this to kill everything in that land. And even though we could use either of these fast, I think it's probably better to let this build happen and destroy the town for 1 fear. And then decide where I want to herd towards the Lurking Maw, I guess. Then get to Furious Might next turn. Yeah, so I will wait on those. We get the builds in the sands. They explore mountains and wetlands. So yeah, lots of explorers on turn 2 is scary, but... we can stop the build into Blightland. And then destroy the town here. So ultimately, that land is good. We're going to combo powers to deal with that land. And then that should be fine. Even with just 2 card plays. I will need energy, though. So I'm just going to click this button. None of my powers care about being in a land, just being at range 1 from a sacred site. This is power or presence at range 1. So let's go here for a little more visibility onto board F, and then play the Raging Storm. And if I'm going to place an element marker down, then that's the only other power I could play. And I do need to get another fire for E1. We still have Shatter Homesteads for next turn. Let's put a fire here. So that next turn, well, I can't actually really hit any innates if I'm only playing 1 card. If I do choose to put another presence down, yeah, that fire's not really going to do much for me, but if I do put an air on one of these corners next turn, I could destroy the town in E5 with my innate. Yeah, if I do E5 or E4, either would be the same, but one with innate and one with Shatter Homesteads, that will deal with those. And then that, I mean, technically these are builds right now. And yeah, and then that's fine. Okay, so let's see what this power card is. We're going to be playing Gift of Furious Might. We're not playing Mark Territory. We do have an element that we can put down. Probably going to have Energy Track. Gives us a fire. So I'm not sure what element I want off of this. How about Elemental Boon? How about Elemental Boon? We don't need it this turn because we have the elements for Thundering Destruction for E1 that we want. I only have 2 air, so only 2 of these powers are fast, but Thundering Destruction and Raging Storm are all I need in the fast phase. I mean, it would certainly help with getting elements on Death Approaches. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but what about the other cards? None of these give fire. 2 give air. 2 give animal. Did I say air? I meant earth. 2 give earth, 2 give animal. Entrap the Forces of Corruption gives both earth and animal. And if we're putting fire down everywhere, those are the 2 elements we need the most of. So gather a blight, isolate land. When blight would be added to target land, it doesn't cascade. Well, that doesn't do much this turn either. Bird's Cry Warning is Dahan pushing. Haunts of Primal Memories is Defend and Fear. Which honestly would be pretty good for next turn. But it does require a Sacred Site. Is there any Isolate that would do something significant? If assuming all these builds are happening, which I'm sure they are, I don't really think there's going to be a single land that's not seen from one isolate other than just isolating an empty land. We do have a stage 2 card, so it's open season, but yeah. I'll just take Elemental Boon because I don't really see how Entrap the Forces is going to do much, but could live to regret that. Let's see. This is in the slow phase. Assuming that I give all of those elements fire, earth, animal. Playing that gives me 2 of each. So if I were to put an animal around F2, I'd be able to kill the city. That doesn't seem super helpful. I mean, I could move where I put this fire, I guess, to try to help with, like, killing the city in F3 or something. So, like, say I don't do that fire. But I do this fire. This is presence at range 1. Oh, I have to have the innate fire too. So I just need to put an animal down. Hello, Panda and Health. Welcome. But if I put the animal here, then I will have tier 3 innate, so I do 1 damage, 2 damage, but also +1. I don't see how that's a bad thing. Increase damage, and then that kills everything as promised. And then destroy this town. We get a fear card. And now we have the first event card. Provincial seat. On each board, choose a land with city, build there. Beasts chase off homesteaders. On each board, push up to 2 explorers of 1 town from a land with beasts. Rally to the defense of distant kin. On each board, gather a Dahan into a land with Dahan. In that land, defend 1 per Dahan. That's just getting rid of disease, it looks like. That's the only thing we can push. Push up to 2 explorers or 1 town from a land with beasts. Also, wasn't there an update that says now I can just, yeah, I can just click and drag this instead of just clicking. So that's cool. That's a new update. I mean, that's a build. That's not doing anything. That's a Ravage. But I can't gather Dahan into that land. Well, let's just throw you there since it's not doing anything. Maybe there's something that says gather a town into a coastal land. So I'm going to click here. I have to actually click the Dahan for this. Inconsistent. Okay. But just assuming that there's an event that says gather a town into a coastal land, or the fear card says that. Each player chooses a different land with Dahan and each 1 damage. Only 1 damage though. But that's fine here because we're going to do 4 damage in there. in the slow phase. So I can damage that town, which will kill it, and the city in the slow phase. Otherwise I could use this to stop the E8 build. E6 is building because there's a town in there. The other wetlands aren't helpful. The other mountains aren't helpful. Yeah, so this is the only land where it will actually stop a build. F6, there's a town there. Otherwise, I would have sniped it. Coastal Explorer. Yeah, it's hiding behind the eyeball. But yeah. I love it when the icon hides a building, but you know. Right, so where's our status now? So mountains, wetlands, ravage. I mean, I'm doing this anyway. 4 damage. So that is a build and a ravage. That's gonna get that icon, as I would like to solve that. That's a build. That's a build. That's a build. That's a build and a ravage. That's a build. Otherwise, ravage, ravage, ravage. Yeah, and we stopped 3 of the builds, so that's that. So now the question is, can I get away without reclaiming on lightning? Obviously, like, dealing with E2 is a priority, as that's a ravage into a build. E4 is a cascade. Our original plan was going to be to use Shatter Homesteads and Thundering Destruction between E5 and E4. Both are kind of high priority. This one has Blight, so it'll be a cascade. This one has Presence, so it'll be Lost Presence. But E2, however, has a number of explorers, and I can't just stop that with my innates. Mark territory. Annoyingly, there's only one Dahan in F3. If that Ravage does go through, the Dahan dies, and then they build. I can defend, but it only pushes the Dahan out. I can't use this fast unless lightning reclaims. And then F6 is also killing 2 Dahan currently. Pretty much all of the Ravages are bad Ravages. Because either we're losing Dahan, cascading, or it's a coastal land that's building. So what to do? Kind of be nice if I had Elemental Boon for next turn a little bit, but what if I were to reclaim with Devouring Teeth as well? So I could play Gift of Furious Might again, which would do the same trick in E2 that it did in E6. Is that 6? Yeah, that's 6, right? So if I reclaim on both, we get Raging Storm again. Energy is going to be a little problem. But Raging Storm in E2 with Gift of Furious Might would kill E2. But I can't play both Raging Storm and Shatter Homesteads. I can also only play 2 cards, but... if I reclaim... I get to 3 energy. I'm also probably going to be energy starved and not putting an element marker down. What about that power card I turned down that said if a land blights, it doesn't cascade? That would actually be kind of nice right now. After I said I don't see how it'd be useful. Also, Lightning Spoon would allow me to do the innate fast, which was the other consideration. So I don't know. Don't really have many defend cards unless my reclaim gives me one. So I'm going to have to make a decision as to what I'm losing. I'm probably going to lose the presence in E5. I would like to solve E2. Don't really want to lose the Dahan in F6, but... don't really see how I could stop it. Other than defending, which pushes the Dahan. What if I don't deal with E2? Like, yeah, it sucks, but what if I let it blight this turn and next turn I deal with it? If I put a fire marker on one of these 2 corners. Oh, but yeah, I need 2 fire and 1 air, which is not happening. Well, no, because I could have. Could I have? Does Elemental Boon count for like the scenario rules? Maybe only place element markers which they have on a power card in hand, player discard. But Elemental Boon can be used for choice elements. So I don't know. I mean, when in doubt, go to the FAQ. Doesn't say. It just says for events, but that's also specifically mentioned in the rules, I believe. Yeah, and I'm not seeing on other pages. Okay, so Elemental Boon's not going to count for Placing, because I can't. Well, I guess I could have Devouring Teeth put a fire down and Lightning put an air down. And if we do it like on corners like this, each of us will only have to pay 1 energy. Which means there's a world where lightning doesn't reclaim. I wish there was more neighboring Dahan to this land. But there isn't. Because if I could just get 3 Dahan in here, I could like defend and push 2 out and still win, but I don't. So let's push these Dahan into this land. Alright, and then I would like to do this with lightning. Can I get away with this? I don't know. But if I were to put a sacred site over here, this would give me sacred site visibility to most of board F except for F7. So when I go in my reclaim loop, I'm pretty much seeing most of the board already. So all I need to do is place an air down on this corner. And then I need Devouring Teeth to put a fire here. And then we'll be able to use Thundering Destruction in that land. I guess we could put a fire over here and we could do it in E5 instead. Doesn't really matter. What does matter is that for me to do this, I kind of need to put a presence at range 1 or 2. Which means I'm not reclaiming. So I have innate fire, and this land has fire animal on it, and I'm playing earth animal, so I always get the 1 damage, but that's slow. Oh, but I guess I'll be able to just kill the town that builds there or something. If I click power card, it needs to be a power card that's free in order for me to be able to put an element marker down. So hopefully I don't miss. Gift of Constancy and Land of Haunts and Embers are my choices. What if we just do Gift of Constancy? Well, the downside of Gift of Constancy is that, like, Lightning's probably reclaiming next turn. I could try to just keep spamming Shatter Homesteads for the rest of the game and putting element markers down everywhere in order to use my innate, but that would probably work fine until we get to stage 3. The problem is this coastal land there's a lot of lands there. End of Haunts and Embers could use to stop the city build in E3. The main issue is this town is going to have to push into a land that's ravaging. I mean, the Explorer can go into E2, assuming that we're gonna Raging Storm in there next turn. But the town can't just easily go into E2, as that's gonna then build a city in E2. Can't go into E5 or E4 because that's... You know, we're dealing with those, but barely. I'll just put check marks there, and then that's going to be Ravage. And like F4 and F7, if I put it in there, that ravages. The safer one would be F7, as that would just be a blight. F4 is a cascade. Encompassing Ward, however, what if I... Okay. What if I play Encompassing Ward instead? The downside is I don't get the animal, although I could get the animal on this track. But if I get Defend 2 in my lands, I could just Defend 2 at F3 and not be worried. So I don't actually need to hit this threshold for damage. I still need to, like, grow somewhere else. Oh, but interestingly, if I grow into E4, that's now defended. So I don't need to use Thundering Destruction there anymore. Although if I'm not doing Thundering Destruction there, then... I mean, what element did I put down? The air? I could probably reevaluate where I put that air and the subsequent fire. So say that I click this. So if I target a land with fire and animal, I get to deal 2 damage. That kills a town enough too right now. And I save this for next turn so I could defend there. It's not that important, but I can. Downside of this is that F6 still ravages and kills Dahan. But this is saved. And then E4 is saved without needing to do anything there. But we still have the dilemma about where could I use Thundering Destruction. Needs to be a land that has 2 fires and 1 air next to it. And a lot of these lands, number 1, we don't have any air down. Number 2, none of these lands have 2 fires down. So I'd have to put a fire and an air next to a land that I want to use it in. And bearing in mind, it also needs to be adjacent to a Devouring Teeth land. Still seems like E4 is the best bet, unfortunately. Even though that's now defended, but... So then it's going to be... fire? No, not fire. air. 'Cause now... Oh. I can't play both of these fast. Okay, well then that's fine. Oh, also, encompassing ward doesn't have to be on me. Although the reason for me was for F3, so it has to be on me for F3. So I have defend there, and then I need to deal with E5, so it's going to be... Wait. No, that doesn't work the way I did that. So what I want to do is put fire here. Oh, it's going to be 2 energy either way. That's annoying. I guess I could have used Cheddar Homesteads here. I could just do that. Okay. Well, you can still kill the town in E5. Eager Explorers. On each board, after the first successful build action, add Explorer to an adjacent land without invaders. Beasts chased off homesteaders. On each board, push up to 2 explorers or 1 town from a land with beasts. At their gates, demanding redress, 2 fear per land with Dahan and city. So 0. 2. Just kidding, 2. Because that land that we're killing the Dahan in, oops. But we do get a fear card off of that. Skip all build actions and lands with cities. Ah. Bye, Dahan. So, and what was the other thing? After the first successful build action, add an explorer to an adjacent land without invaders. I mean, that's always going to be F1 on this board, so it's always going to put an explorer in F5. E1 puts it in E5, E3 puts it in F7, which is farther away from lightning, so let's do it here. Oh, but it skipped it. That was not the first successful build. Whatever. Alright, we have mountains with escalation. The escalation says, on each board with buildings, add a town to a land without towns. What was the other part of the... Oh, no. I thought it was that it was going to put a town instead of an explorer, but that's not the one. So, coastal ravage, but also mountains build. So let's just put you there. Avoid the mountains, so go there. And now this mountain is super high priority. Although we should be fine because I will Raging Storm there next turn. That is going to require Devouring Teeth to reclaim. I guess is the downside. In any case, Thundering Destruction, the only valid land is E4. We have 2 damage here. If it targets a land with fire and animal. Which is only this land. Or this land, but there's nothing in there. I don't particularly want to grow into F2 because that's ravaging. Or to do the thing in F2 because that's ravaging. Yeah, so any land that has fire and animal on it would be the consideration, but it's just these 2 lands. I'm reclaiming and I'm playing Gift of Furious Might, my reclaim also puts a presence down. It costs 2 energy to put an element on any corner of F. Gift of Furious Might gives me a fire and an animal. And there's a fire animal next to it, so I just have to play a earth animal card. Which does not exist. But I can elemental boon to do that, I guess. I also, if I'm reclaiming, I can play Encompassing Ward. I mean, I can't play all the cards I want to play, but I can play Encompassing Ward to defend 2, which would solve F1. I won't get to E1 in time, but E1's not really doing anything. If I gain the fire, does that help me? Let's just do this. Do I want to do that? What if I do this? Oh, I don't have elements. Right. These were the only 2 lands that I can actually deal damage in. But I want to stay in F1. If I take the fire... I do get to deal enough damage in F2. Downside is I don't have energy for element markers. And in any case, I don't even need that fire to hit the threshold for F2. So let's take the energy then. Wait. Oh, right, yeah. I was like, why do I not have the fire? Right, because I took the innate fire. But with this, I can put an element marker down. I don't really need to have dealt damage in F2 for this to work. Also, technically speaking, defend 2 is enough for F2. So I don't actually need to deal damage there now, which is annoying. So if I don't use my innate in F2 last turn, and I do it somewhere else, I will have to use my innate on F2 in the fast phase this turn. I'm just trying to see if I can somehow use my innate fast on E3 now and deal enough damage so that defend 2 would be enough. In any case, reclaim with lightning. Oh, but I can't. Well, if I take this power card, I can't undo to the slow phase, so I do have to make this decision now. Oh, and I can't afford Raging Storm. Oh, that's a problem. No way, I can. I can because I've not gotten the +3 energy yet. Okay. So if I'm playing Lightning Boon and Raging Storm, I can also play a third card. I'm actually somewhat thinking, can I get away without Gift of Furious Might? What if I were to do Elemental Boon instead? No. I need those elements. I would have to somehow ditch Encompassing Ward for what I was thinking, which was I could do this and then use Elemental Boon to hit the thresholds for enough damage. But then, number one, I don't have Elemental Boon, or I don't have Encompassing Ward, rather. And number two, well, yeah. I don't know what number two is. Number one is I don't have Encompassing Ward. But Elemental Boon doesn't really seem to... I mean, like, if I could somehow... I mean, if I were to put a fire next to E3 and have enough energy to have done that and play cards, potentially I can hit the point where I can destroy a city and a town, which I could use to kill E2 without Gift of Furious Might, but... Might be a situation where I just don't worry about E3. I can push Dahan out fast. Yeah, so this will be defended or killed. This will be defended. The priorities are going to be to try to deal with these lands, right? Pretty sure we're just going to mark territory in F6 to deal with that, because there's nothing... No Dahan in there. Defend 9 will be fine. So yeah, going back to the question of do I want to undo my slow power to put my presence somewhere else to maybe help with E3 and then use my Lightning Boon Death Approaches in F2. Probably not, because the point of doing E3 in the slow phase last turn would be to put element markers in E3, but if I'm putting element markers at E3, I would like to use my innate in E3, but I'm using it in F2 in the fast phase this turn, which... Yeah, okay. I think I will stick to what I did and take a minor. Dire Metamorphosis, the one of everything card. No fires. No fires on these cards. I don't know. I'm thinking about all these options. Voracious Growth is probably no. just because jungle wetlands are not relevant next turn and it provides no elements. The other three provide air. Sky Stretches provides water. Water is very tangential, but exists. Probably not playing it this turn, though. Unless for some reason I decide to not hit, like, city destruction. Thinking about Dire Metamorphosis in E3, I would lose my presence there, but a Strife on the city... Damage to the Explorer? I would still need to kill the town, I guess. But it puts a Wild, a Disease, and a Strife down, which is a lot. Also a Badlands and a Beasts and a Dahan. Or not a Dahan, a Blight. What else could be done? Bat Scout damages for each Dahan, 1 damage to a building. Basically kills the town in E3, which is kind of useless. Kills a town in F1, but we don't need to do that. So what Sky Stretches do? It would allow me to use Death Approaches without using Lightning Spoon. Otherwise, the plus range doesn't do anything. I guess I could also use a slow power fast power slow, but neither of these are things I want to use slow. I could also use it on myself to use a fast power slow for some reason. I could use Lightning Spoon slow. Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't need plus range, and I don't likely need to do slow powers fast. So if I do decide I want to use Dire Metamorphosis for E3, is that fair? Raging Storm, Dire Metamorphosis, Harbingers probably. That spends 4 energy. I'll have 1 left to place an element marker down. I will have 2 fires, so I'd have to put a fire on one of these corners, or probably here actually. And then I could destroy the town. Kill the Explorer with the damage, Strife the city dies, and then no Dahan dies. That would work pretty well, honestly. I do lose my presence and we put a Blight there, but otherwise pretty much means E3 is a non-issue for the rest of the game. Oh no, I can't put it here because of the fire that's there, so let's put it... The mountains is not going to happen until stage 3. We already got 1 of the mountains cards in stage 3. We've not gotten the stage 2 wetlands, so let's put it here. Alright, so Fury's Might. How many of these powers do I actually need? I probably don't need Harbingers, so I can just use the other 3. Raging Storm. Has this been the Raging Storm of your dreams where it actually kills cities? That says I can also destroy buildings, but actually it's just destroying the town. And then dire metamorphosis. Strife. Nope, that's not the strife one. Order of operations. Click a piece to deal damage. And then strife that. And then we put every other token there. Alright, dire metamorphosis. Let's go. Alright, and then encompassing ward on you. Defends everything else. Except for like A1. Investigation of dangers. On each board, add an explorer to a land without invaders or Dahan. Prey on the unwary. Each beast destroys an explorer. Add a beast to a board without one. Rouse the spirits. Each spirit with at least 3 Dahan among all his lands may use a slow power now instead of later. Okay, well. Forced choices on both. Unfortunately, that means they're building E2 now. That's rude. I have range there? No. Yeah, that's unfortunate that E2 is building after all that, but it could be worse. I could use this here to kill the city. Actually, that would generate 2 fear, which might allow me to stop that build in E2. I feel like that's worth it. Alright. Fear card says, on each board, gather up to 1 explorer into a land with 2 or more invaders. Huzzah. It worked. Actually stops 2 builds. Yes! That was a really powerful event card that allowed me to get this fear card. I'm not going to have Raging Storm next turn, so let's just gather that piece there. And then gather this piece here. Let me get the Coastal Ravage, which is only 1 blade. Two mountains builds. Explore wetlands with escalation. So, mountains is ravaging. The only other card we have is coastal. So every other land type is eventually going to be a thing. I say just leave this piece here. They're not exploring F7 right now. That's actually really nice. Unfortunately, if I click E3 right now, not only do they explore F7, but also the wilds, and E3 is then irrelevant. If I click E2, I would need to deal with E2. If I click E4 or E8, they're building a city in that land. I'm gonna go with E4, because I could probably deal with that more easily. But we didn't explore F7, so we're winning. Anytime you skip and explore, you win. That's the victory condition of Spirit Island, if you didn't know. Okay, the only defend card we still have is Mark Territory, which we're hoping to use in F6. Ferocious Rampage fast would actually deal with E4. But anyway, Mountains Ravage is here and here. And then these are the wetland builds. Kind of annoyed that we have 2 explorers in a lot of those different lands. 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Defend 9 would be enough. Pushing 2 Dahan into F6 won't help because we're pushing 2 Dahan out. So Lightning Spoon, we could use this power fast, we could use that power fast, we could use that power fast. But if I say we're Ferocious Rampage for E4 to prevent that build... If I'm playing Mark Territory and Ferocious Rampage... I have innate Fire Animal. And this gives me Fire Animal Earth, so I can deal 2 damage. Probably could place a marker down in order to deal extra damage and then just kill everything in E5. So Ferocious Rampage plus Death Approaches fast deals with these 2, I'm pretty sure. And defend here. It has eyeballs, it shouldn't have eyeballs. I guess we still have icons from the Ravage. So let's just clear everything out. Everything's cleared out. Okay. We're going to defend that. We're going to kill that. We're going to kill that. So this is the only build. That's the only other build. And then no other Ravage. Okay, so all that's left is F3 and E8. And we haven't considered Lightning's actions. But we have a Shatter Homesteads and we have Thundering Destruction. So we should be fine. But again, none of this is really going to benefit from having Dahan. I guess getting Dahan out of E3 just so that it's in a land where it will do something, maybe. Not that wetlands are going to do anything, but... Okay. So what I would like to do... I can spend 1 energy to put a marker there. Yeah, so I can do a Sacred Site like this. Get to 4 energy and 4 card plays. This has been a pretty good presence game for Lightning, considering the number of times you're in Reclaim Loop for years. But now we're actually at 4 card plays and 4 energy. Like, holy crap, the sustain. So yeah, Thundering Destruction will work in F3. And then Shatter Homesteads for E8, so that should be fine. So I'll put check marks there. Can I get away without gaining energy this turn? Probably want to work towards 3 card plays. But I'm playing 2 cards that cost 2 energy. If I want to place an element marker down, I need to either gain energy or get to 4 energy. Is there a place where this marker is going to do something? Because what we said was what? We needed... If I'm playing these... I needed an animal? Alright, you now have an animal, so Lightning can put an animal here, except I can't because I forgot that that's there. Okay. Well, just do that to undo. That's gonna cost 3 energy. Wait, where did I need to do this in? One of these is just gonna get this effect, the other gets this effect. Both of them are lethal in both lands. Seems like I'm gonna need +3 energy, as it's gonna be 3 energy here, 3 energy here, 4 energy here. I mean, I guess I could grow at range 1 or 2. This would be 3 energy, this would be 2 energy, that would be 3 energy. So these cost 4, I have 4, I can get an extra 1, so I feel like it's just gonna be this. And then I'll put an animal here. Wait. Am I stupid? I'm stupid, aren't I? I need defend 9 and F6. Let's take this back. The 2 cards I'm playing give me animal. And this can give me a fire. But all of this already has fire next to it. So I don't actually need to place an element marker over here. Probably should just grow into F6 though. I mean, I have to anyway, but I don't know why I'm overthinking to this level, because we have the wetlands solved for the next Ravage, and we're solving the mountains very easily, so this is just like min-maxing, isn't it? I guess we would like to be able to use like Thundering Destruction in F6, so I want to try to get fire over here. But I don't think I actually need the +3 energy for that. So hopefully my calculations are right. Gift of Nature's Connection. Fire, animal. No fires. No animals. Uh-huh. I guess it's just going to be Gift of Nature's Connection. Get that plus energy, though. We're not playing that card this turn anyway. We have the elements that we need. Let's put element markers here. Let's put a fire here. And then you could put... Let's put fire. So Lightning Spoon, Ferocious Rampage, Death Approaches. So those are solved. Mark Territory. No Blight. The 2 builds will be dealt with by lightning. And we want to wait for the slow phase for these. Especially because technically this doesn't do anything except over in these lands. So I pass. Alright, Thriving Trade. On each board, add a city to a coastal land with city. Pestilence arrives on canvas sails. On each board, add disease to the coastal land with the most buildings, and that land 3 damage to Dahan. Clever Cooperation. Each spirit may push one of their presence from a land with Dahan, 2 damage, and the land pushed 2. Well, there's no coastal cities. So Thriving Trade didn't happen. Pestilence arrives, putting disease damaging to Han, but only... I mean, this is actually order of operations anyway. They push push presence from a land with Dahan, 2 damage, and a land pushed 2. So there's Dahan there. No Dahan there. You could push from F1 into F6. Obviously, that would generate a fear. But I can't kill the city with that because we don't have another presence in a land with Dahan. We could do it both from E5 into E7 and E1 to kill 2 towns. Not really going to do that much, but... Main downside of pushing a lightning presence here is that we will lose that sacred site, and we are reclaiming next turn, but we don't need coastal land visibility right away. Okay, fear card. Flee from dangerous lands. On each board, remove an explorer town from a land with Badlands, Wilds, or Dahan. So that just stops 2 builds. On each board, and there's only like 1 choice on both boards. Okay. Sands Explorer. I mean, all the sands are being seen right now. Avoid wetlands. No wetlands, no sands, so that. No sands, no wetlands. So lots of choices here. Let's put it over here just so that you're closer to Lightning Sacred Site. Okay. And then Thundering Destruction and Shatter Homesteads. All the wetlands are empty. We want this. This can only ever go in a land that has... I guess no. If we want to destroy a city, it'd have to be on a land with an air and 2 fire. But it can destroy a town in any land next to a fire, which is pretty much every land at this point, almost. So I'm pretty sure we just do this here. Now, all the sands do not have towns. We are reclaiming. If I stop both of these builds, then... Well, I guess we're not escalating anymore, actually, but... If we stop board E from being a problem, then I guess that makes this game easier, so might as well just try to prevent those builds. Lightning is reclaiming. Let's gain a minor because energy. Territorial Strife only targets a land with cities. Confounding Mists we can use to push the town out from E6 that builds there. In the meantime, I kind of want to gain a major with Devouring Teeth, but It's going to be an expensive element marker for F6, so it's probably just going to be a minor here as well. Unquenchable Flames. Invaders do not heal damage at end of turn. Uh-huh. Why not? Probably just gonna click that. Then for element markers, we're playing this. Honestly, just kind of tempted to use it in F6. Although I don't have the plus damage this turn. I probably don't need to use it for E1 though, that said. E1 is just a thought because there's 3 explorers in there, but to keep up with the theme of Raging Storm being epic, maybe I shouldn't do that. Confounding Mists. If I don't play this... There's 2 fires there already. Say I played that one. I do get to destroy 2 buildings in F6. I can't put another element marker next to F6 with lightning. Even though it looks like that would be a corner, but that's not actually a corner. But I can destroy 2 buildings in F6. And I have Shatter Homestead, so I can kill the other building. We are 26 sphere away from no cities, but can we just kill the remaining towns? I also have Lightning Spoon, so I could just use this fast. And also this fast. Actually, we also have Gift of Nature's Connection, which is interesting. The 2 fires isn't going to help here, though. But if I were to forego placing an element marker, if I were to take air off of this, I would be able to destroy 3 buildings in F6. Of course, I took away the card that also destroys a building. This kills a building by itself. I don't care about the Badlands. Oh, I have Elemental Boon. What am I doing? Elemental Boon is right there. And then I could just probably do Gift of Nature's Connection on myself to hit elements. Fire is less important. Let's put this here, I guess. I'm only playing 2 cards. I'm playing this one for sure. So I can't actually hit myself with things, but... if I put an animal here... I think we just win. Even without an element marker from lightning. So let's just put an element marker down for fun, I guess. Fire. Because Elemental Boon for air, water, and then it's not gonna matter. There's 2 fires next to this land. That's interesting. Animal, I guess. Then Lightning Spoon. Or Thundering Destruction there. Kills all the buildings there. Lightning Spoon on you. Unquenchable Flames. well, honestly, I'd rather do Death Approaches, but Unquenchable Flames, and Shatter Homesteads. We win! All the invader settlements have been destroyed and their morale is not strong enough to weather this loss. They depart the island for their faraway home. Man, that game was so easy. I don't know if anyone ever loses the Elemental Invocation. Well, that's a lot of fire there, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it say on here? Oh yeah, it says on right there. 8 fire, 1 air, and 2 animals were placed on the board. But we finished with 55, which is 1 point too many. 10 for victory, 35 for difficulty 7, 8 for the 4 remaining invader cards, 5 for the 10 surviving Dahan, and -3 for the 6 blight. Didn't blight the island this game. And we were never really in any issues. Overthought some turns. There was certainly one turn where I had to deal with 5 different ravages and trying to prioritize which ones I could deal with, and I think ultimately when we settled on killing a city in the fast phase, getting an extra fear card to stop, or was that even that turn? I don't know. But we had a really good turn where I was able to actually solve 2 builds or something, or 2 ravages. I don't know. But that game was pretty good. I'm happier with that game than I was last week's game. Last week I had a loss that was probably easily prevented because I only really lost because I got greedy and added 4 blights to the island, putting 1 blight left on the blight card, and then the event card added a blight. And all I needed to do was to not put the blight down myself. It seemed nice as that card gave me like 20 fear in the end, but I was not at risk of losing, so it was an unnecessary risk. But this game was utterly trivial, so you win some, you lose some, I guess. But that is it for this week. We avenged our loss from last week, and we will continue on our scenario path. The next scenario we're playing is the Great River, which changes the layout of the board. So we can look forward to that next time. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Ooh, there's art here, by the way. There's art here. I've not actually played Tactician Thunder Speaker, so I haven't seen this art that was released, but there you go. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed your stay. This was Dolphin's Dive. We're here every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out Handelabra Live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern to see previews of content before it is publicly available. Nature Incarnate is in active development, and there will surely be previews of the next phase of its release coming up on Handelabra Live, so be sure to check it out and watch the Discord or whatever social media feeds you use for announcements of that sort. But that is it for me this week. Have a good night, everyone.